Have you ever felt trapped, wondering if a miracle could set you free? Today, we're re-diving into one of the most epic stories of liberation ever told, the story of Moses and the Exodus. This isn't just an ancient tale, it's a powerful narrative of hope, courage, and divine intervention that has echoed through millennia. Our story begins in the land of Egypt, under the shadow of the Great Pyramids. Here, the descendants of Jacob, the Israelites, were no longer honored guests. They were slaves, crushed under the heel of a ruthless Pharaoh. Their days were filled with backbreaking labor, building grand cities for their masters, their cries for help seemingly lost in the desert wind. Pharaoh, fearing their growing numbers, issued a chilling decree. Every newborn Hebrew boy was to be thrown into the Nile River. It was a time of unimaginable despair. But in the midst of this darkness, a flicker of hope was born. A Levite woman gave birth to a beautiful son. For 3 months, she hid him, her heart pounding with every passing guard. Knowing she couldn't hide him forever, she crafted a small ark of bulrushes, sealed it with tar and pitch, and placed her precious child inside. She then set the tiny vessel afloat among the reeds of the Nile, her daughter Miriam watching from a distance. As fate would have it, Pharaoh's own daughter came to the river to bathe. She saw the basket, heard the baby's cry, and her heart was moved with compassion. She knew he was a Hebrew child, yet she decided to save him. And in a beautiful twist of irony, Miriam cleverly arranged for the baby's own mother to be his nurse. The child, saved from the water, was named Moses, and he was raised in the very palace of the man who had ordered his death. Growing up as an Egyptian prince, Moses lived a life of luxury, but he never forgot his roots. One day, he saw an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating one of his Hebrew brethren. In a flash of rage, Moses struck the Egyptian down and buried him in the sand. But his act of vigilante justice did not go unnoticed. When Pharaoh learned of it, Moses was forced to flee for his life. He journeyed east, across the harsh desert, to the land of Midian. In Midian, Moses found a new life. He became a shepherd, married Zipporah, the daughter of a local priest named Jethro, and had a son. For 40 years, the Prince of Egypt lived the quiet life of a nomad, the past a distant memory. But destiny had not forgotten him. One day, while tending his flock near Mount Horeb, the mountain of God, he saw something extraordinary. A bush was engulfed in flames, yet it was not consumed. As Moses drew closer to investigate this strange sight, a voice called out to him from within the fire, "Moses, Moses." It was the voice of God. God told Moses that he had seen the suffering of his people in Egypt and had heard their cries. He was now going to deliver them from their bondage and lead them to a land flowing with milk and honey. And the man he had chosen to lead this monumental mission was Moses himself. Moses was stunned, filled with self-doubt. Who was he to confront the most powerful ruler on earth? He made excuse after excuse. "I am not a good speaker," he protested. "What if they don't believe me?" God was patient. He gave Moses miraculous signs to perform and assured him, "I will be with you." He also appointed Moses' eloquent brother, Aaron, to be his spokesman. Reluctantly, Moses accepted his divine commission and set off on the long journey back to Egypt, back to face his past. Reunited with his brother Aaron, Moses stood before the mighty Pharaoh. Their message was simple and direct, delivered in the name of the Lord: "Let my people go." Pharaoh, who considered himself a god, was dismissive and arrogant. "Who is the Lord, that I should obey him?" he scoffed. Not only did he refuse, but he also increased the Israelites' workload, forcing them to make bricks without straw. The people's suffering intensified, and they blamed Moses. It seemed their hope for freedom was cruelly premature. But this was just the beginning of a divine showdown. God was about to demonstrate his power in a way Egypt would never forget. Moses and Aaron returned to Pharaoh, and the first of 10 devastating plagues was unleashed. Aaron struck the water of the Nile with his staff, and the entire river turned to blood. The fish died, the water stank, and Egypt's life source became a symbol of death. Yet, Pharaoh's heart remained hard. Then came the second plague. Swarms of frogs covered the land, invading homes, bedrooms, and even the palace. Pharaoh begged Moses to stop the plague, promising to let the people go, but as soon as the frogs vanished, he broke his word. This pattern of stubbornness and deceit would repeat itself. Next came gnats, then swarms of flies that tormented the Egyptians but spared the Israelites in the land of Goshen. A terrible pestilence struck Egypt's livestock, followed by festering boils that afflicted man and beast. Then, a storm of hail, mixed with fire, rained down from the sky, destroying crops and shattering everything in its path. Still, Pharaoh would not yield. An unprecedented swarm of locusts devoured whatever the hail had left, leaving the land barren. Then, a profound darkness fell over Egypt for 3 days, a darkness so thick it could be felt, plunging the nation into chaos and fear. In the Israelite settlements, however, there was light. Through each plague, a clear distinction was made between the Egyptians and the Hebrews. God was showing Pharaoh that he was in control. Finally, after 9 plagues, God announced the 10th and most terrible judgment. At midnight, the firstborn son in every Egyptian household, from the firstborn of Pharaoh on his throne to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, would die. The Israelites, however, were given specific instructions for their protection. Each family was to take a perfect, unblemished lamb, sacrifice it, and smear its blood on the doorposts of their homes. When the angel of death passed through the land, he would see the blood and pass over those houses, sparing the firstborn inside. They were to roast the lamb and eat it in haste, with their sandals on and their staffs in hand, ready to leave at a moment's notice. This meal would be known as the Passover, a memorial to be celebrated for all generations. That night, a great cry of anguish rose throughout Egypt. There was not a house without someone dead. The final, heartbreaking plague shattered Pharaoh's resistance. He summoned Moses and Aaron in the middle of the night and pleaded with them, "Go, leave my people, you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds and go. And also, bless me." The moment of liberation had arrived. After 430 years of bondage, the Israelites left Egypt. They departed in such haste that they didn't have time to let their bread rise, carrying unleavened dough on their backs. Hundreds of thousands of people, a vast multitude, began their journey toward freedom, guided by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. But their ordeal was not over. Once the initial grief subsided, Pharaoh's hardened heart returned. Regretting his decision to lose his entire slave labor force, he mustered his army, his best chariots and horsemen, and pursued the Israelites. The fleeing slaves found themselves trapped, with the Red Sea before them and Pharaoh's charging army behind them. Panic and terror set in. They cried out to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die?" Moses, full of faith, reassured the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Then, as instructed by God, Moses raised his staff and stretched his hand out over the sea. A strong east wind blew all night, and the waters of the Red Sea parted, creating a dry path between 2 towering walls of water. The Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground. The Egyptians charged after them, into the very heart of the sea. But once the last Israelite was safely on the other side, God told Moses to stretch out his hand again. The walls of water collapsed, crashing down on Pharaoh's entire army. The chariots, the horses, the soldiers, all were swallowed by the sea. When the sun rose, the Israelites saw the bodies of their former masters washed up on the shore. They had been delivered. A song of praise and victory erupted, a testament to the miracle they had just witnessed. Their journey was far from over. Ahead lay a vast and unforgiving wilderness. But they were no longer slaves. They were a free people. Their trek through the desert was a time of testing and transformation. They learned to depend on God for their daily needs, receiving manna from heaven to eat and water from a rock to drink. 3 months after leaving Egypt, they arrived at the foot of Mount Sinai. Here, the covenant between God and his people was forged. Amidst thunder, lightning, and a thick cloud covering the mountain, God descended, and Moses went up to meet him. It was on this sacred mountain that Moses received the 10 Commandments, a moral and spiritual foundation for this fledgling nation. These laws were not just rules. They were the framework for a new society, a community bound together by a shared faith and a divine purpose. The former slaves of Egypt were now officially a nation, God's chosen people, with a destiny to fulfill. The story of Moses and the Exodus is a timeless saga of oppression and liberation, of despair and divine hope. It teaches us that no matter how dark the situation, no matter how powerful the oppressor, faith and courage can pave a path to freedom. It's a reminder that even when we feel trapped, a miracle might be just around the corner. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. See you in the next video.